we are joined by Deonte Epps of the one, the only worldwide leader, ESPN. And Deonte, just for the uninformed,
Yeah.
I'm just curious as to what your path to this was. I mean, we've spoken about it before, but it's kind of an unconventional path to get to ESPN.
Yeah, very, very unconditional, man. I graduated from Baylor 2013. I'm also a Killeen High alumnus, so go Roos, graduated 2009. But after I graduated from college, I stayed in the Waco area, did some news things in the Waco area, started as a production assistant, sports reporter, and then I had a career change where I ended up teaching and coaching. So I spent time at Belton High. I spent time Connolly, a lot of places where your viewers are familiar with. Spent time in my alma mater, Killeen High, for a year as well, and taught and coached, and I loved it. I love working with kids. I love being able to put an impact on their lives and things like that. And I learned things also along the way, how to, be a leader, how to communicate with others, things that I feel like very important along my path, and met some great people along the way. But I always had that itch to do sports. Um, I had a podcast that I did with a close friend of mine, that we focused on sports. And Roy, and you're familiar with this. It was the Duo Sports and Stuff podcast, focused on sports and like Marvel movies and video games and stuff like that. And it, kind of gave me that itch to really, really dive into sports. And I felt like it was a cool part of building my portfolio and resume to get to where I am now with ESPN. And so there was an application where I learned about this program at ESPN called ESPN Next. And basically it's like the entry door, so to speak, in production for the ESPN company. And ended up applying. I think I applied the first time in 2020, maybe 2021. I always get the dates mixed up. And ended up getting accepted into the program. But my wife and I were getting married that year, so it wasn't a good time for us to pick up and go from Texas to Connecticut. And like, I think they wanted me to come in like a month, maybe 2 months. And like, no, we'll wait and see if another opportunity arises. And it did in 2021 when they offered me the job, the end of 2021, and ended up accepting it and being able to move to Connecticut and starting in July of 2022. So, yeah, long story, but unconventional path. But I always feel like I was put in these positions for certain reasons, if that makes sense. And that's how I got to where I am now.
Yeah, and I don't want to project anything onto you, but it's so unconventional that like when you got there after not having done it for a couple of years, obviously you're doing the
Mm,
podcast, you're cutting and producing that. Y'all had video on your podcast before I think even like folks like The Ringer and stuff started having
yeah.
video on your podcast on Spotify. And that was unconventional even to me when I went on it. But I'm just curious as to did you have any sort of doubts or maybe even imposter syndrome, I guess, when you go to work for the worldwide
Yeah.
leader? What was your thoughts on when you got that job?
Yeah. That I feel like there's I won't say there's always imposter syndrome, but it can creep in your mind, like the doubt. And like, man, like I'm really going to work for ESPN. Like, waking up when I was little, watching Sports Center in the morning before school was like a ritual for me. And to be able to walk through those doors the very first day was definitely mind blowing. But I think when I got there and I started to meet the people, you know, the culture of the company is something that people from the outside really don't get a gist of. But there are really great people that work at ESPN that make me feel at home, make me feel important, but as well as, or should I say, important as well as knowing that we're all here for the same reason. And I always take a step back and think about the people in my life that helped me get to this point. And like my family, my wife, and like people that have always been in my corner that I always appreciate. And I think that helped cure the imposter syndrome. Like them back me up and support me through everything that I've been through this crazy career journey that has cured the imposter syndrome, if that makes sense. Like always having them in my corner, knowing that I'm here for a reason, is something that I always keep with me.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm projecting because I would probably walk in those doors and be like, "What am I doing here?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really have loved the journey that you've taken because
Thank you.
it's been one that you don't see very often because people in our business, you know, it's like once they get out, it's hard to sort of get back in. I mean, you have stable hours, the
Yep.
pay, especially from the local level, to even like teaching is even better.
Right.
So I'm just what was the reaction from maybe your family or those closest to you? Obviously, your wife supported it and y'all moved up there, but like,
Mhm.
what was the reaction? As like, oh, you're going away, like you're going up
Yeah.
the East Coast.
Man, it didn't out well, of course it always sets in when you're gone. But me myself, you think, all right, I'm going across the country, I could come home whenever. And it's not always the case, but their support is like something that always drives me. Like I don't know if I would have made it because they've always, I guess, to reiterate kind of my last answer, but just they've always been there to for me to lean on for support. And then it's always funny that sometimes like the people in your corner have more confidence in you than you do. I mean, and that always brings me back to like certain times in my life where I it wasn't imposter syndrome. It was just seeing others reach their goals, and it's something that I've always strived to do. And being able to do that, like I'm already about to, well, I just turned 34. So like to have one career and then switch careers is like something rare that a lot of people fear that they can't do. And I feel like it's a testament and like a testimony for me to kind of let people know like that, yeah, you could still achieve that dream that you want to go to. It's never too late to do that. And so I think that's something that I always keep with me.
Yeah, because it feels like, I mean, you're still a young man. Like we're still young men, right? Just turned
Yeah.
31. I'm just sitting here going, we're still young. But I'm just curious as to like it feels like a young man's game, especially on and maybe even on the production side and where
Yeah.
you started to work your way up. I mean, did it kind of uh reiterate that fact when you got there? Were
Oh
you an
yeah.
older man in the room at that
Oh
time?
yeah. For sure. When I got hired, so they hire us in like cohorts. So if people don't know what a cohort is, it's like a group of us together getting hired at the same time. And when they hire you as a production assistant, and they split the group up to wherever the company needs. So some people went to Sports Center. When I got in, I went to the E60 outside the lines team. So that's more like the journalistic background. So they took my background of working in sports news and stuff like that and put me there. But they put everyone in these shows and assignments when they get hired. But coming in, I was 30 at the time, 31, and I'm coming in with, people that just graduated college. Like this is their first job out of college. And at first, for me, it was kind of something I would think ashamed is too strong a word, but it's something that kind of made me feel a certain kind of way. But then I thought like a lot of the people that I came in with in that group, you know, came to me for advice, came to me for, questions that they had about working in, uh, not necessarily ESPN, but just in a job field. It's their first
In a
career.
real
So
job, yeah.
in a real setting, so it was kind of comforting. And I get this is funny, but I get called Unc
Mm.
around, which is funny to think about, but it's also an advantage to kind of already have my foot forward as far as being in the corporate world and understanding how things go and things like that. So I was able to kind of have a leg up, not as far as a career advancement, but just knowing how everything works and how it is to be working in the real world, so to speak.
How much of it is an adjustment? And this is just for me. How much of an adjustment was it to like get back into uh, producing and cutting and editing and
Yeah.
making graphics and doing that sort of thing? How just the minutia of that? How difficult was that to do? Or I mean,
Yeah.
been doing it with a podcast, I guess, a
And
little, but not at this
yeah,
level.
I think having the podcast kind of helped, like as far as the video production. It's just like learning what ESPN likes you to use. It's a totally different format and program, and they give you the training, like 2 or 3 weeks of training before they send you on an assignment. So I think that wasn't a big of a jump as I thought it would be, but I think definitely having that, background and had already been working on, video and graphics and things of that nature helped me kind of ease into it more than most people would, unless they were coming from like a similar background.
Now it is interesting the elephant in the room and why I think it's not the only reason that people are talking to you, but I'm kind of like last in the line now here is that you are now an Emmy winner. You have won
Yes.
you and the NFL Live crew
Mhm.
got a sports Emmy for y'all's work on that show. Excellent show as always,
Yes.
and has been for many years. But what was that like seeing that your name was called and getting that award with all of your
Yeah.
coworkers?
It was really cool, man. I so it comes on at a certain time and like they stream it from their website, like the Sports Emmy website. So I necessarily didn't know that, like, on a day to day, or should I say, when in season, I'm working on NFL Countdown, which is, for people that don't know, it's like the daily, or excuse me, the weekly show on ESPN that comes on before the games. And so that show wasn't nominated for an Emmy. So I wasn't like paying, I mean, I was paying attention for my friends and things of that nature that had shows that they knew were, getting nominated. So I was rooting and cheering them on. And NFL Live was in the category, but I had only had like a 3 month stint with NFL Live over the summer. Um, because Countdown wasn't going on. So in the off season, they like send us to different assignments. So at that time I was sent to NFL Live. So NFL Live was a part of the outstanding daily show category, and NFL Live won. And at the moment, I didn't know that I was a part of the team at the time. So they take it from a certain, a time period. Like if you're watching the Emmys, like it's from the previous year, nominees and things of that nature. So I had ended up like looking on Instagram and congratulating a lot of my friends that had won an Emmy, and a friend of mine that I worked on the show on NFL Live with, he posted like NFL Live won an Emmy, and he's like, I'm like, congrats, and then he posted like the credits of like all the, it has like the analysts that are on the show. So like Marcus Spears, Mina Kimes, Laura Rutledge. It's naming all the producers, and then my title is content associate. So it's like naming all the content associates, and I'm just looking and I'm like, oh, there's my name there, and it was like, oh snap. So I won, and we won, so to speak. But it was a very cool honor and a testament to everybody that put work in on that show. The producers, great producers. It's always a team atmosphere, always a team culture, everybody helping. Salute to the team for sure. But it's a very earned win for NFL Live for sure, because that was their first sports Emmy ever. So, and that show's been nominated so many times, and it's grown so much. I think it started, uh maybe I need to get it right. Maybe back around COVID, maybe before COVID, the show actually aired for the first time. So it's fairly new. So for them to be nominated is pretty cool. And to win it.
But the elephant in the room again is that you didn't know that you won.
Yeah, I did not. I didn't even know I was.
Not
I'm
even know
telling.
that you're nominated.
I. I was. No, I didn't even know I was a part of the like the credits to win. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like, I wasn't even watching the show. Like they do the show in New York. So a lot of my friends that were nominated, like I had a close friend of mine. She's a producer on College Game Day, and they won like back to back Emmys, and she was actually at the ceremony. um but I was like following along on like Twitter because it'll announce the winners and they'll tweet about it. But bro, I didn't even know. I did not know until a friend of mine that I work with posted on Instagram. So that was a shock, but also a cool. I think a cool way to find out. Kind of a surprise, like a cool way to kind of find
Yeah.
it out.
Well, it's better than being nervous about it and then,
Yeah,
not winning, I guess. So
exactly. But
that's
like
really,
there have been a lot of like people that have gone like for like 3 or 4 straight years. And it's always an honor to be nominated, but to go and having to go through all that and not come away with it is kind of tough too. So
yeah. You go to these schools now, and I've had the privilege of going to several Killeen schools, and they all sort of have their own, AV video production clubs where they'll stream the games, they'll put up stuff on the scoreboards.
yeah.
I can't imagine that stuff was around when you were around. How cool is it, or would it be? I don't know. Do you see yourself maybe as an example of these guys that are into this stuff now at your alma mater and around Central Texas? Would you, consider yourself, I guess, an example of what kids can do from this area?
Yeah, for sure. And I haven't I wish I had that opportunity then. Like I always say like how the earlier the better for kids and students that are interested in this field to get into it. Like there's so many avenues and ways you can go up. Not even at ESPN. There's so many entities and production companies, and it doesn't have to be sports, right? It could be movies. It could be television. Like with social media now, there are social media companies and things that can elevate students' portfolios and things of that nature. But for them, I would say it's never too late to do what you want to do because I feel like I'm like a prime example of that, like getting into this field late. But the earlier the better, and just lean on people that have your best interests. I think especially at I noticed when I watch a couple of the high school broadcasts now, they even have the kids like doing like announcing at high school. It's like that would be like a dream of mine. I was playing at the time, but like I would have been cool to kind of do some basketball games in the off season. But I think it's really cool now that they have a lot of these opportunities more and more. I even see like esports, like and I know Baylor has esports now. I know it's in the high schools now. Like I'm a we're big gamers, so like I would have loved to have that opportunity to engage in programs like that.
And we'll wrap it up here shortly. I want what has been, and maybe you can't pick favorites, but I'd like for
Mhm.
you to try. What has been sort of the favorite project that you've worked on, and then I'll have a follow up to that here in a little bit.
Okay. Project uh can be like an experience.
Yeah, or like places you've gone, things you've seen, like
I
when working for them.
in February got to experience the Super Bowl, man. Got to go to New Orleans as part of the pregame coverage or pre-weeks coverage for NFL Live and Countdown. So it was like going on set. We had a nice set in New Orleans for all the all the shows. So like Sports Center all the way through First Take, Get Up. I wasn't a part of those shows, but we all were set up in the same area. All the way through Sunday. Got to experience the first half of the Super Bowl. Watching the Super Bowl in person was pretty cool. Got to experience Kendrick Lamar's halftime show, which is definitely dope. And then my assignment, I guess I kind of worked backwards. My assignment pregame on Sunday was being a part of the Sunday Countdown show. So cutting different video elements for the show that aired from inside the Superdome and helping print out scripts for the talent and things of that nature. And then post game, I was in charge of putting together sound to send to our editor for NFL Primetime, which is our post game show with Chris Berman and Booger McFarland. So I was in charge of like cutting sound of the losing team. So it was like sound of Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey, as they came through the different podiums and sending it back to our editors and stuff like that. But overall, it was a great experience. Got to work and play a little bit in New Orleans. New Orleans is one of our favorite cities to visit, my wife and I. So it was definitely a great time. I put that as probably number one experience in my short time with ESPN.